Alright, so as you can see, the microphone is lopsided, but you know what? Today is lopsided because this movie is... The amount of anger that I'm about to express from this movie is insurmountable. This movie, Yesterday, is one of the most incompetent films I've ever seen. People liked this movie. It was a box office success. It got mixed to positive reviews, and I just hate it. I hate it so much. I don't know how anyone likes it. Everything but the acting, and honestly the writing. But the story, the cinematography, the editing, just everything on a visual and technical level is repulsive to me. Alright, so let's start. So it's a good premise. It's what if the Beatles never existed and only the main character of this film remembers them and their music and has to recreate their music and remember all the lyrics. A movie can't just be a good idea. It has to follow through with it. And there are some genius scenes in here where it is following that premise. He's retracing the lyrics, and for once everything in the film is good. The editing, the cinematography, we go back and we see this woman in a church as it correlates to the lyrics, and there are these quick cuts because he's, piecing it together. That part, great. Everything else, garbage. Now, I did not know I hated this movie until maybe the halfway point, because like I said earlier, the writing is actually good. The dialogue is good, and it's kind of funny and endearing, and it makes you think that you like what you're watching until you realize that the story is just not gonna go anywhere interesting. It's just gonna... The amount of times I'm probably gonna start talking and then stop talking to go like, I should do a counter for it. Anyways, so basically it just becomes this boring ass story about this boring ass character who just, is he gonna make the right choice? Is he gonna take credit for their work? Or is he gonna get too obsessed with fame, even though he never really seems to get wrapped up in it? And instead they just focus on this boring relationship between him and his best friend who has feelings for him this whole time. And it's like, who cares? This is a movie about the Beatles and their work. This whole movie could be about him trying to discover the meanings of their songs. They have so many songs that are fascinating. Because think about it. For the average person who's not this obsessed Beatles fan, they don't know all the stories about the histories or who Julia is about or Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. They don't know the history, they don't know the stories. And even people who are really obsessed with the Beatles, there's still so much that we don't know. And this movie could have been about that. It could have been about someone trying to figure out the lives of these people that suddenly no one remembers. But instead it just uses that as this cheap gimmick so that he can have this lame story about doing the right thing. I love Kate McKinnon. It's not that she was miscast. I guess the acting is not the problem, although it's not a good performance. I don't know what they were thinking. That it would be amusing to see Kate McKinnon as this one-note, totally unbelievable villain who's just evil. Like, I'm gonna always talk about how I need to make money because that is my character. Now, I didn't even talk about the editing or the visuals yet. There are these CGI seagulls that come across the screen every now and then. Sometimes the lyrics just come across the screen out of nowhere. The cinematography is really inconsistent and choppy. So we've talked about the weird seagulls. We've talked about the weird cinematography, but the editing in the scene where he plays Yesterday, which is in the trailer, and it's the scene where everyone starts to hear his music and be like, oh my god, that's so amazing. They just randomly cut to just things in the background that have nothing to do with him. And it's not like, oh, people in the background are hearing him. No, they're way off in the distance playing like Frisbee or something. The main actor does a decent job. He's he does a good job for what he's given. Lily James, as always, I love her. She didn't do anything wrong. It's just the character she was given. That I haven't even talked about the message of the movie. They seem to go in the route that the Beatles should never have existed, because when he, spoiler, meets John Lennon is so much happier and lived past 64, and they're seeming to hint that the Beatles should never have existed and that they shouldn't have chosen a life of mass music industry and fame, that they should have quit. What on earth? Secondly, the character, Jack, makes this decision at the end, right at his huge concert, that he's going to tell everyone that the Beatles are a thing and that he didn't write any of these songs. And then he's going to proceed to say, I'm going to release all this music for free because it's not mine. That's a nice thought, but he is totally screwing over so many people with this decision. He's screwing over his agent, who, yes, is portrayed like this psychotic villain. He's screwing over the entire record label. Here he is at this huge stadium, and he's been going on all these concerts and taking private jets places and having all these favors done for him. I'm sorry, he is in debt now. He just screwed over so many people. This movie is just thoughtless. I think this is a terrible film. Terrible film. So I'm going to give it, I don't even need to hesitate, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. I don't give it a 1 out of 10 because the performances were good and it was well written. Whoever wrote the actual screenplay, I don't think is who also came up with the story. I can't think that. I just can't. I cannot accept that. So that was my review of Yesterday. Wish I never saw it, and I hope you never see it. So, all right, leave your comments down below if you agree, disagree, what you want me to review next. If you want me to stop reviewing altogether, I don't know, anything. And those 2 comments that I get, I will look at.